Today's video is brought to you by Green Man Gaming. If you're looking to get one of the hottest new PC games that's available right now, or just looking to get an older game that you've always had your eye on, Green Man Gaming is the place to check first. Right now, they have a great sale going on. You can get an extra 20% off by using the code PAYDAY20. If you're interested and you want to help us out here on my channel, make sure you click that link down below in the video's description and head over to Green Man Gaming. Get your game on today. All right, let's head on to today's videos. Hey there, everybody. My name is Shadow Phoenix. It is Tuesday, and Tuesday means more Planet Coaster. And today we are back in Whitaker Lake Park building a GCI, well, kind of GCI wooden coaster for our park. We've jumped ahead a few years into year 24. Reason for that is because either I didn't have the videos, either lost them with the hard drive that died, or I just didn't record them. Most likely I think it was I didn't record them. The last 2 years weren't big, huge expansions, not like this one. In fact, so far to date, this is the biggest attraction that we have added to the park so far. And it is, like I said, it's kind of a GCI type of coaster. And I got the inspiration for this from Wildcat at Hershey Park, at least as far as like the first drop. I saw some pictures of it when I was doing some research, and I was like, ooh, I really like that first drop. So I kind of did my own kind of variation on it, from what I could tell out of the pictures and stuff. The way it drops and then kind of goes back up and then kind of goes around, it really makes a cool kind of skyline for the coaster, I think. I really liked it, and I wanted to do something like that, so we did. And of course, as always, I'm adding this little rose bowl section. You can always know this is one of my coasters when I add something like this into it. I do this so much because it is one of my favorite elements. This like multi-tiered helix that kind of tilts. I don't really know any other way to explain it. Like I've always said before, it's referred to, the Beast has one of these, and on the Beast it is referred to as the Rose Bowl. Son of Beast also had one of these as well, and it was just like a single one. It wasn't like a multi-story one, or a multi-tiered one. But yeah, Son of Beast and Beast both have these. Other wooden coasters have them as well. I can't think of any right off the bat, but I know there's at least a couple more. But it's just an element that when it doesn't look like much, but when you're actually riding it, it is so much fun. Like, helixes are my favorite elements on coasters in general. Not just wooden coasters, but any coaster. I love helixes. I think it's either the G's or the forces or whatever that's at play there in it, but something about them I really like. What I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to do a double down drop, and I was having a whole lot of trouble with trying to get that to work, so I'm like moving the coaster around and trying to figure out the best way to do it. I wanted to make use of this like huge like pit or canyon that I built for my Thunderation recreation that we added to the park a few episodes back. I wanted to get some more use out of that and kind of make that into an element that also uses this coaster. So I thought, let's have it drop down, and we'll have it go down into this valley, this canyon, this pit, and then kind of do a couple things and then have it make its way back up there. I knew I was going to have some trouble with trying to get that to work, though, because I knew it would eventually run out of speed and I would have trouble trying to get it to make it back to the station. And this is due to the fact that the coaster itself, the wooden coaster, many people were complaining back at this point because the friction wasn't in the game. We couldn't adjust the friction, we couldn't make it work. And the wooden coasters, it really seemed like the friction was just completely wrong on this coaster, even though they kept saying that the friction was right for this coaster. It wasn't at all. And I struggled with it, and you're going to see this in this video a lot, where I'm trying to go back and redo a lot of things and just trying to adjust like curves and banking and a lot of other stuff. But I keep going back and trying to add a little bit more height, a little bit more speed, change a few more things up to try to get it to actually finish the course without adding, like another lift hill or something. Because I think, looking at the coaster, I think in reality this would actually make it back to our station fairly easy. But in the game, it just wasn't. Now, of course, we have the friction adjuster, so we can actually set that and, have it wherever we want. So, as I'm adjusting things here on the coaster, this is pretty much the layout that I decided on, and I think it's a really cool layout. But there you can see it kind of just stopped there. It actually rode back. I think I just cut that out. But as we're talking about this and as we're making adjustments to the track and stuff here while we finish things up, let's talk about a couple other things that's happened in the park. So year 21 was the last episode that we did in Whitaker Lake, and that was where we added the splash boats. Was these really cool things. I had a few questions about the splash boats in my video. Why didn't I use the Cascade, the water coaster? Well, as I stated in that video, we didn't have the Cascade coaster back then. So these videos are quite old. They were recorded back before October of last year. And I'm just now getting around to actually getting these out because I was very slow about uploading videos before. Now this is pretty much my thing. Like this is my job. It's kind of where I want to go with things. I want to make content for people. I want to do YouTube and stream full time and I want to be involved in this kind of stuff. I want to be a content creator and I want to actually profit from it and actually make something of myself, while at the same time never losing that that I am where I come from. I don't want to lose my roots. I don't want to get too big of an ego or anything and go just all about money or anything like that, but I do need to make a living at this, so that's why I do a lot of advertising and stuff, and I also ask for donations and things like that as well. So again, it's completely not necessary for donations and stuff, but it is extremely helpful to me as well while I'm trying to get things off the ground and get sponsorships and a bunch of other stuff like that. But yeah, so I was asked how come I didn't use the Cascade coaster. Well, the simple answer, as stated in that video, I literally did see this in the video I think a few times. I think I talked about it lengthy actually, that we just didn't have the water coaster at that time, so I had to figure out another way to do it with what we did have. Now later on we did get the water coaster. I am not going to go back to Whitaker Lake and redo that ride with the water coaster. It is going to stay as the Anubis, and that's pretty much how it's going to be. I did create another version of that for Crystal Gardens, and that one does use the water coaster, so you guys will see that soon, very soon. But in the meantime, yeah, that was what we pretty much did in that video. So that was year 21. Year 22, I went and we added some Go Karts to the thing. I'm looking at my timeline for Whitaker Lake, and it's really funny. I actually have Go Karts written, and I did that for a reason, just because I was making fun of how I just was like making notes and stuff, and I was just having fun with it. So instead of Go Karts, I typed Go Karts. I don't. It's stupid, but yeah, it's just kind of funny when you actually look at my notes and stuff, and it's like Go Karts. The hell are Go Karts? They're Go Karts. So I added Go Karts to year 22, and you guys saw those in the little preview video before this. And then in year 23, we added the Screaminator ride, which is the drop tower. And you can see it in the background just a second there. You kind of did see like a brief glimpse of it, but you also saw it at the beginning of the video as well. And we placed that over right in the middle of the two turnarounds for our racer coaster. So it does have those back there, and that was something we added in year 23. So 2 flat rides were added, well, a tracked ride, the Go Karts, which is kind of like one of those little upcharge things, and then the drop tower was also added. And then for this one, we also went back and we added more to the park by our biggest expansion yet. I imagine, I mean, in the past we've said this is the biggest expansion in the park. Well, it was at the time, but obviously as parks grow and years go by and new developments and research and stuff in amusement parks and things, parks always have to go for that bigger, better thrill. So sometimes you just got to spend a little bit more money to get something really cool, and that's what this coaster is. And it is our way of bringing the thrills and stuff back to the park. It's a multi-million-dollar expansion, I would assume anyway, for our park here in Whitaker Lake. Now, I really love doing these little, like, you could kind of say they're kind of like Six Flags parks or Cedar Fair parks or something like that, but I really like to think of them as more as like they're not chains. They're just more just like these little family-owned parks, more like Kennywood or something like that. If Kennywood had a bigger budget and a lot more land. I always like to go back and think and I say this so often, I always bring this park up because this is my reference park. This is where I grew up at. I always go back to the way Kings Island started out being. Kings Island, if you don't know the history of Kings Island, it was a small park, which, it was located in Ohio, right around close to Cincinnati, on a riverbank. Problem with it is that it kept flooding all the time, and they didn't have any room to grow. They were kind of just like locked into where they were, and they couldn't expand the park anymore, even though they were doing a ton of business. Back then, they were like a premier entertainment location for most of Ohio, and they got a lot of tourism and stuff. But like I said, they couldn't really expand. They just didn't have the room for it. So they wanted to expand, and then a huge flood, and the lake was kind of the last straw. And then there were some other things. There's a whole history of Kings Island that you can actually look up online on YouTube. So there's YouTube videos about it, which is a really cool, kind of like history. If you're a theme park enthusiast, it's definitely worth watching that. So I'm not going to go into all the details and everything, but nonetheless, they jumped through some hoops, they worked it out, and they ended up buying a bunch of land and building Kings Island. Kings Island was located in Kings Mill, but it was also a play on words. So it was located in Kings Mill, but it was another version of Coney Island, Ohio. So they combined the two, and it became Kings Island. And that's where the name Kings Island comes from. So this was about the time that, I was really young. We're talking back in the 70s, right? I was born in 75, so the park opened before I was ever born. But I was really big on going in like 79, 80, 81, 82. We used to go like every year, sometimes 2 or 3 times a year as a whole family. All my cousins and stuff, we would all go as a big, huge family. And, also school trips and stuff would go as well. But I pretty much grew up at Kings Island. So when I think of an amusement park, I think of things like that. These small, not a chain, but these, parks that were built from the ground up to be these like entertainment places. And, maybe they have like some sort of back history or something to it. But, that's kind of the way I build. So, yeah, even though I kind of think of things like Canopy Lake and Kennywood and stuff like that, and Kennywood doesn't bring in enough visitors to actually build something like what this would be. But if Kings Island had never been bought by Paramount Parks, and then it was never bought by Cedar Fair, then I imagine it probably could have grown quite much like this. Kings Island was a huge park, and they also developed other parks as well. They kind of became their own sort of chain. Like they had their own sister park, which is Kings Dominion, and then I think there was a couple of others as well. And then Paramount came in and they just bought them all up. And then Paramount won it out, so Paramount sold it to Cedar Fair, and that's why Cedar Fair now owns Kings Island along with a bunch of other parks. So they kind of just grew into that chain. And when you also look back at like a place like, say, Kentucky Kingdom, which is also kind of close to me, it's in my same state, even though because I'm located in Kentucky, but I don't consider it my home park because they don't have a whole lot. But back in the day, before Six Flags owned Kentucky Kingdom, it was owned by just like this small company, and he was a very devoted. It was his baby, basically. And that's kind of the way I think of these parks. Like, small family-owned things. Think of, like, Hershey Park. Think of things like Holiday World, that aren't owned by huge chains and stuff. Busch Gardens, you could kind of maybe look at Busch Gardens. Busch Gardens does a lot more theming and stuff, but, they also own SeaWorld and some other places. So, there's that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm kind of thinking when I build these parks like this. And almost all the parks I build are kind of like that, except for Vista View. Vista View is kind of like my sort of Disney. Like, not Disney, but sort of Disney. It's like the thing where I can kind of get away with saying, we got the money to do this. Let's just go ahead and make this huge, But also keep it realistic. I'm not going to do, 401-foot tall roller coasters in Vista View. Or this park, or ever, really. I most likely will never do a 401-foot tall coaster unless I'm doing something like a Stratocoaster, one of those things like King Dakar or something like that. But you'd never see me actually build a coaster like that because I don't feel like a park like this would actually have something like that. So I don't usually build it. Instead, I kind of go with I love wooden coasters. Wooden coasters always seem to feel like they would just be at home in a, like a small park. Even though these parks aren't small, it kind of like a family-owned park. You know what I mean? So that's a little bit of back history on kind of what we are doing with the parks, and that's pretty much every park that I do. Crystal Gardens is the same way as Whitaker Lake here. Whitaker Lake was, and I've talked about this before as well, Whitaker Lake was an experiment. It was basically, can we do a park from the ground up, adding things to it yearly in challenge mode? So this was me playing challenge mode, not sandbox. I think a lot of people actually, when they watch these videos and stuff, they lose track of, what my actual objective was. And you can see down in the bottom corner there, we have like $95,000 there. Now, I will say that was not easy to get to that. There were some ups and downs during all of this. If you guys watched me on Twitch when I was streaming the making of this park, and you would have noticed that, throughout the years, and I talked about this in a few of the videos as well, some of the attractions we added, they didn't get the visitors. So we had our ups and downs years, and there was a time when we almost went, we were in bankruptcy, basically. So we had to fight our way out of that, and then now we've got like $95,000 down there to build this coaster with. So everything that I'm building is building with money that I've gotten from the game. This is not sandbox mode. This is not just me just like, let's just build, and this is also my earlier builds as well. So the things that I do in Crystal Gardens, which so far is the best build that I've got. I mean, oh God, I love Crystal Gardens. It's the best work I've done. So this is all like earlier than that, what you're seeing now. So, but you can kind of tell how I'm evolving throughout Whitaker Lake, like even like this station right here, and how my coaster builds and stuff evolved. If you followed the entire series, you can definitely see my building style evolved from simple to into what I'm building now, and kind of going that way. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this station. So I don't really know what I was doing with the station. Honestly, I had some reference photos of a station that I saw. I was watching these walkthrough videos for parks, and I want to say this is Six Flags New England. I might be incorrect about that, but they had a bobsled coaster. And this bobsled coaster had this really cool looking kind of station for it. And I'll admit, at the time I didn't know it was a bobsled coaster. I wasn't really paying much attention. I just kind of took a photo of it during the while I was watching it. I was just like, oh, screenshot that. That's cool. And use that for reference later. So it kind of came from that. So yeah, even though this is kind of alpine-y when you really think about it, and more like European type of build and something that would fit more on something like a bobsled coaster, I kind of am thinking, you know what, could also be like a barn, or maybe some kind of ranch house or something like that. So I kind of turned it into kind of a little bit of a Western feel. So it's a little bit of both. And that's where this design, this reference kind of came for the station for this. Yeah, so the videos that I watched, by the way, there's this guy named Jay Descharme. He makes these fantastic walkthrough videos of parks and stuff. He does like other videos too, which aren't my style of things, like festivals and stuff like that. And I'm gonna say he's probably also not the biggest coaster enthusiast as well, or theme park enthusiast. It just seems like he likes to video things, but he's so detailed about his walkthroughs. It's not like Coaster Studios or In the Loop or something when they go and it's just like, oh, here's a walkthrough of Six Flags wherever, and it's not really a walkthrough. Like, they'll call it a full walkthrough, but it's not. They like jump around and skip, and they show you. They'll spend like 10 minutes of a 20-minute video on one ride, and that's not a walkthrough. But Jay's videos are really, really good. He literally starts outside of the park, walks through the park with his camera, and talks about everything that he sees. It's not edited down and skipped through for like excitement or anything like that. It's literally a guy with a video camera walking through the park talking about the park. And that is the kind of videos that I really like, and there's not too many of those. So when it comes time for me, when I actually get an opportunity to get to Kings Island, and kind of like visit some parks and stuff, I'm going to make videos like that myself. I'm taking my camera with me. Hopefully I'm better at my camera skills by that point. And I figured out how to use this stupid DSLR I bought. But that is kind of what I'm going to do. I want to go and I want to make videos like that. I want to make like walkthrough videos and talk about things at the park and stuff like that. But yeah, as I was saying, no, Jay, you can tell he's not the biggest coaster enthusiast as well, because he'll say like, this is the tallest coaster, in the U.S. and it's not. it's not the tallest one. Your facts are wrong there, but it's still, I like his videos. I love his videos. He's an awesome YouTube creator, and it's Jay DeSharm. You guys will have to just look it up. I don't want to put a link or anything in the video below, but yeah, look him up, Jay DeSharm. You can find him just by searching for like look up a full walkthrough of Busch Gardens or walkthrough of like Six Flags New England. He's done a couple of the New England ones, I think. He's also done Kennywood, Lake Compounce. He's done like a dozen or more videos of different parks, and he done King's Dominion, I think, last year. So yeah, he's done some great videos. They're excellent walkthroughs, and if you're a person who wants to get into building realistic parks in Planet Coaster, or just looking for reference or stuff like that, I highly recommend these types of videos. Well, I have actually made it through an entire one of these videos without really rambling so much or ranting or anything like that, but literally like actually talking about stuff that kind of is interesting, which I find to be a feat in itself. I really feel like I'm getting better at these videos, and my channel is growing and things like that. So I'm happy you guys have enjoyed this. I'm going to head out of here. Can't wait to see you in the next video, and I will be streaming tonight on Twitch and most every other night this week, so you guys can catch me on there. Until the next video, guys, see you later. Hey everyone, if you'd like to help support me and my channel, I have a Patreon page where you can do just that. You can pledge anything from $1 or more. Anyone who pledges $15 or more gets a unique, specially designed roller coaster and Planet Coaster made just for them. My little way of saying thanks. You can also just send donations as well if you don't want to join Patreon. And you can find those links in the video description below. Every tiny red cent I make from these means the world to me and is extremely helpful. If you're interested in my PC setup that I work with and play on that you see here, every piece of the system is described below with links to Amazon if you want to purchase them or anything else. Thanks for tuning in to my videos and my channel. If you aren't already a subscriber, click that on the screen below. And you can also check out a few of my other videos on the screen here as well. You can keep up to date on what's going on in my own little world via Twitter or watch me stream live on Twitch as well. Links are in the video description below. So wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night.